and the opportunities that lie in the days ahead, guiding our focus to here and now. Within this chamber, may we find the clarity and resolve to fulfill our duties with integrity and with compassion. Let us acknowledge the responsibility and privilege inherent in our positions, recognizing the faith and trust placed in us. Tonight, as we make decisions that impact the entire community, let us appreciate the diversity of voices and the unique needs that they have. Let us approach each item with open hearts and minds, committed to solutions that best serve the interests of all community members. As we serve in our community, let us embrace the spirit of inquiry and reason with a willingness to listen and a focus on building bridges of understanding, embracing our differences as strengths and strengths that enrich our community. It is only fitting to close this June invocation highlighting the importance of community for every citizen with a quote from Bell Hooks that notes, "Beloved community is formed not by the eradication of difference, but by its affirmation, by each of us claiming the identities and cultural legacies that shape who we are and how we live in the world." And so, let us remain mindful of our responsibility to future generations as we work to make a brighter future for all of us. Thank you.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated. Just a reminder to our friends in the audience, the Council Safety Regulation 1, that wearing any type of headgear or head covering is not permitted. So if you're wearing a hat, please remove it. Thank you. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mrs. James. Mr. Reeser.
Here.
Mr. Springs.
Here.
Mr. Ayler.
Here.
Mrs. Baker.
Here.
Mr. Davis.
Here.
Mrs. Fitzpatrick.
Here.
Mr. Springs.
Make a motion that we approve the absence of Mrs. James.
Seconded by Mr. Reeser.
Mr. Reeser.
Yes.
Mr. Springs.
Yes.
Mr. Ayler.
Yes.
Mrs. Baker.
Yes.
Mr. Davis.
Yes.
Mrs. Fitzpatrick.
Yes.
Mr. Springs.
Make a motion that we suspend the reading of the minutes.
Seconded by Mr. Ayler.
Mr. Reeser.
Yes.
Mr. Springs.
Yes.
Mr. Ayler.
Yes.
Mrs. Baker.
Yes.
Mr. Davis.
Yes.
Mrs. Fitzpatrick.
Yes.
Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes? Seeing none, that will conclude that portion of our meeting. I do want to make an announcement before we move to administrative reports. As everyone can see, Mrs. James is not present tonight. She asked me to read a statement. She's not here because she had knee surgery and she can't get around. She wanted to be here tonight, but she wanted the audience and the members of the public and the members of council to know what her position was as it relates to the annexation ordinance that's up for reconsideration tonight. And she didn't want anybody here or anybody in the public to think that she was shirking her duty and not being here. So I have a statement from her that she sent me that I'm going to read, and we'll talk a little bit more about the impact of this before we move forward. She reads, "Good evening, council, administration, and guests. Thank you for allowing me a few minutes to state my position on the reconsideration of the Duff property annexation. Unfortunately, as of today, I'm 7 days into a lengthy recovery from a knee surgery, and as such cannot attend tonight's meeting. I've been advised that an absentee vote is not customary or permissible for a Bellefontaine City Council meeting. So I want to at least make my position known publicly, since I cannot attend to officially put my vote on the record. I have made the decision that if I were there tonight, my vote would be no on the annexation. I've strongly considered factors on both sides of this issue and was initially voting yes, just looking at this specific request as what it is, an annexation into the residential single-family category, which means no principal use solar by default. However, I have received a significant amount of feedback from constituents asking me to please vote no. Many folks feel that this annexation is just a stepping stone to the ultimate goal of a solar farm, and they are vehemently opposed. My job as a council member is to pass on their wishes via my vote, and their wishes are very clearly to vote no on this reconsideration. There is a huge argument for property rights and being able to do what you want with your own property, but we also already have rules that disallow us from so much as a yard sale without a permit, which of course has relatively much less of an effect on other residents. In addition, we rely on a great relationship with the township for many things within the city. I have a good amount of concern for what happens to relationship if we annex this property with the known ultimate intent of principal use solar, despite the township's objection and the countywide majority objection to solar. I apologize, I'm not there in person tonight and appreciate the opportunity to voice my opinion on the record. Respectfully, Jenna James, council member at large. So what that means tonight, just to remind everybody and the members of council, we are going to have that issue for reconsideration after the ordinances for third reading. The Ohio Revised Code and council rule requires 2/3 majority of elected members of council, not council members present, to vote to overturn the mayor's veto. That would be 5 votes. Everybody's counting. The measure passed 5-2 at the last council meeting. Ms. James, I believe, was one of those yes votes, with Mr. Ayler and Mr. Springs being no votes. So in order for that ordinance to prevail from council, you need to have 5 total votes. Just a reminder to the members of council when we approach that issue to reconsider it. Okay. With that said, I'll move to administrative reports. Mayor's office, Mayor Christman.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good evening, council. Good evening, guests. One thing tonight, an appointment to the Board of Building Code Appeals. Brenda Daring Stewart, her term expires, it's going to be the end of July, but I've reached out to her and she's agreed to accept another 5-year term.
Do we have a motion and a second to reappoint Bryn Daring Stewart to another 5-year term for the Board of Building Code Appeals? Motion by Mr. Reeser, seconded by Mr. Ayler.
Mr. Reeser?
Yes.
Mr. Springs?
Yes.
Mr. Ayler?
Yes.
Mrs. Baker?
Yes.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Mrs. Fitzpatrick?
Yes.
Thank you.
And that is my report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Any comments or questions for the mayor? Seeing none, we'll move to Service Safety Director, Mr. Dodds.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good evening, council. Good evening, guests. A few items for you this evening. First, want to let you know that the administration was approached by the Logan County Electric Cooperative, asking us to look at our franchise agreement that we have with them for electric service in Bellefontaine. So we also have a franchise agreement with AES. On top of those franchise agreements, there's also service areas delineated by PUCO in the state. So those franchise agreements, there's 2 different ways they're written. One is an open-ended agreement. One is a closed agreement. AES's agreement with the city is open. Co-ops is closed. So that impacts how they can provide service or who provides service when their territories overlap, which they do in some instances in the city. So co-ops requested that we might consider granting them an open franchise agreement as well to put them on the same kind of playing field that AES is on in the city. So we did tell them that was something we would broach with council and consider. So, Mr. President, I would just look for that to be assigned to committee for consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Dodds. Mr. Davis will send that to your committee for consideration.
Thank you. Next item on the list, just an update from the water department. Hydrant flushing will begin citywide on July 7th. So you'll see some water flowing beginning in July. So watch for that. We continue to be hiring for multiple positions in the city. We've had a couple more retirements out of the water department this time. So we've got current openings in street department, water department, sanitation department, and we've got a list being certified for fire tomorrow. We've also had another resignation in the police department, so we don't have a list for that. So we're actively looking for qualified candidates. So if anyone knows anyone that wants a good career with the city, send them our direction, because we definitely have some holes to fill. So then the last time I report, just with the high heat this week, just want you to know that our crews are still out doing the good work of the city. In order to keep them safe, we did allow our service departments who are working on that heat to start their days earlier. So some of them are starting as early as 5 a.m. this week, so just so they can get out of the worst of the heat. But they are still out doing good work. You just may not see them out about in the afternoon. So just want to let you know that. I appreciate them keeping things going for us when it's not super comfortable to be outside. So with that, I'll end my report.
Thank you, Mr. Dodds. Any comments or questions from Mr. Dodds? Seeing none, we'll move to Law Director, Mr. Stolle.
Good evening, Mr. President. Good evening, everyone. Perfect evening to share a big change in the way City Council has advertise their public notices. The Ohio Revised Code allows the city to, you can either publish your notices for all city matters via the local newspaper, which has been the Examiner for 100+ years, and they've been a great partner with the city. There's also a state website where you can post public notices, and I found it personally to be cumbersome and not user-friendly. Or as council approved maybe 6 weeks ago, a resolution where council would start publishing its notices, and the city is publishing notices for all meetings, whether it's the Planning Commission, the Board of Zoning Appeals, any committee meetings for the city. They will be now available in real time, 24/7 on the city's website, the top left portion of the website under meeting notices. And if you look there tonight, you'll see tonight's council agenda that was published immediately when it was available last Friday, along with all of the ordinances. So please share that with anyone that you talk to that says, we don't know what's going on at the city. It's all going to be right there and it'll remain there. And in addition to the website, it'll also be published on the city's social media, which is the City of Bellefontaine's Facebook page. So there's never been any non-transparency, but we heard, especially during this process of the annexations, rezonings, the calls for how do we get this information. And you'll also see the set agenda, even before the set meetings like council. We meet the second and fourth Tuesday every month, except for generally in December, because the fourth Tuesday usually falls around the Christmas holiday. So those are already out there, the calendar's there, but as soon as actual meetings are set and agendas are set, they'll be available. So I want to make sure everybody heard that loud and clear. If there's any questions after, I'd be glad to discuss that. And I really would like to thank Amber Palmer, our code enforcement officer. As a lot of city employees, she wears many, many hats, including she has a lot of our website design, and she's been absolutely instrumental in getting this off the ground. So kudos to Amber. That is my report.
Thank you, Mr. Stolle. Any comments or questions for Mr. Stolle? Seeing none, we'll move to Auditor, Mr. Brentlinger.
Thank you, Mr. President. Council, good evening, guests. There's one resolution, 25-41 before you tonight that is amending a previous resolution which was adopted in December of last year. That resolution created a debt service fund for the bond issuance for the Parks and Rec development under the recommendation of our auditors, which we're currently in an audit. They're recommending that be moved to a special project fund. So 2541 is just amending the previous 24106, I believe it was, to change it from a debt service to a special project fund. That ends my report.
Thank you, Mr. Brentlinger. Any questions or comments from Mr. Brentlinger? Seeing none, we'll move to Police Chief, Chief Marlowe.
Thank you, Mr. President, good evening, council, good evening, guests. Just some updates about happenings around the agency. You remember last time I reported on cruisers and one was supposed to go to production. I did get confirmation it did go to production, which means we should receive it in 2 to 3 weeks. So I'll keep you posted on that. So right now we have one that the city garage is trying to onboard that had just come in from last year's order, and then this one came very quickly. So this will be one for this year already. Our sergeant's process wrapped up Saturday. We had 2 successfully make it through the end process. That will be certified by civil service in the morning. Being that there are only 2 left, and we had 2 vacancies at sergeant. They'll both be promoted, so I'm not afraid to give you those names. Officer Aaron Long and Officer Andrew Kirk will be promoted to sergeant. We'll coordinate that schedule with the mayor currently. Also, as they're sworn in, we'll be swearing in Zach Sheely, who comes to us from the Logan County Sheriff's Office. His last piece of the process was also today, and he was successful, so we're also coordinating that. As Mr. Dodds mentioned, we have had some recent resignations. We have one more that's forthcoming. We have one of our officers that has decided that law enforcement is not for them. They're getting out entirely. So we'll have that coming in early July, which will leave us now with, if you count Mr. Sheely as coming in, that leaves us at least 3 short currently. And then it is canine chicken season, as I'll start harping, beating you to death with in the coming weeks until that happens in August. Tickets for sale very soon. That is my report, Mr. President. I'd be happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Chief. Any comments or questions for the chief? Thank you, sir.
Thanks, sir.
I don't see the fire chief, so we'll jump to engineer, Mr. Bischoff. Hiding back there.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just one thing tonight on the agenda is Resolution 2542. Habitat Community operates a restore up there at the intersection of 130 and 57. They used to get their water from a shared well. That well is no longer operable, so they've approached us to connect to our city water line. We have a water line that basically runs across the front door. I know the ordinance says extension of city water lines. Actually, there's no extension of the city water line. It's really just allowing us to connect to our city services while not being inside the corporation. So I just wanted to make that clear. So that's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Bischoff. Any comments or questions for Mr. Bischoff? Thank you, sir. Parks and Recreation, Mr. Myers.
Thank you, Mr. President, council members. Just wanted to give it's been a great hectic month in your parks. We had 2 different tournament weekends. The second weekend in June, we had 111 teams in Logan County playing in our ball field. So really a great tourism boost to be able to make that happen. We have the pool off and running and great crowds right now, as you can imagine. And just lots of exciting things seeing everybody in the parks. Lots of projects well underway, lots of ordinances you guys are helping us with this evening. So just really excited for our momentum and continuing that. We got work going on pickleball courts right now, expanding from 4 to 8. And so we'll actually should have those back opened up for play on 4 later this week. And then we're waiting for the resurfacing company to come in to repaint and restripe. So we'll have 8 courts. So great projects moving forward, and excited for where we're at. So one more big tournament weekend, the second weekend in July. Looks like somewhere between around 60 teams right now is what it looks like. So another great tourism weekend. So with that, that's my report.
Thank you, Mr. Myers. Any questions or comments from Mr. Myers? Thank you, sir. I don't see any other members of administration present in the audience. I do see County Commissioner in the audience. Sir, typically it's customary for council to allow county commissioners to speak if someone is present, and you, sir, are more than welcome to address the council.
The only reason I'm here is I'm representing the county tonight. Each year I do my best to try to make it to every council meeting as it relates to city, villages, and the townships as well. And so this is just my visit. We want to make sure that you understand that we want to work with you and not against you. And so that's what I'm here for.
Thank you, sir. That will conclude the reports from administration. We'll now move to reports of standing committees. Finance Committee, Mr. Spring.
Thank you, Mr. President. We have one ordinance for first reading tonight, and it is going to be giving Priority Power Management the authority to enter into an aggregation for us for natural gas, should one be found. We have 2 resolutions. 2540 is a resolution that adjusts the city's capital asset threshold. Currently, it's at 5,000. We're going to raise that to 10, and it also gives them the authority to go up to 25,000 for like-kind purchases. Resolution 2541, Auditor Grutlinger has already explained. And then for second reading, we have 3 ordinances. We're going to be asking for second and final on the park and pools and the Harmon Field project so that they can send those out to bid. And then for third reading, we have I skipped that one. And overtime, sorry.
That's
2535 is overtime for the fire department. And then for third reading, we have 2532, and that is making supplemental appropriations for the parks. And that concludes the finance report.
Mr. Springs, are all 3 of those for second
Yes, ma'am.
final?
Yes.
All 3. Okay,
Okay,
thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Springs. Rules Committee in place of Mrs. James, Mr. Springs.
Rules Committee has one ordinance for reconsideration tonight, and it's 2531, annexing approximately 200.827 acres owned by the Duff Quarry into the city.
Thank
And that
you.
concludes my report for rules.
Thank you, Mr. Springs. Utilities Committee, Safety Committee, Mr. Reeser.
Thank you, Mr. President. Safety Committee will be holding a meeting on Thursday, the 26th, this Thursday at 1 p.m. here in council chambers to discuss e-bike, the riding of e-bikes through the city, and anything else that comes across our desk.
Okay.
That is my report.
Thank you, Mr. Reeser. Utilities Committee, Mr. Davis.
Thank you, Mr. President. We have one resolution on the agenda this evening, R 2542, which Mr. Bischoff discussed. So we'll be asking for adoption on that resolution. And then I will be working to schedule a Utilities Committee meeting regarding the co-op franchise agreement, that issue that Mr. Dawes talked about, and we'll send out the appropriate notice when that happens.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. Streets Committee, Mr. Ayler.
One thing that was brought to my attention this evening regarding downtown vehicles hanging out in traffic. So I've talked to Chief Marlowe about that this evening, and get a little bit of visual on it. We'll see what happens. If you recall, we talked about warning people last 2025, and we will not take some action number 26. And so we're continuing to have complaints about vehicles hanging out in traffic.
Okay. Anything further, Mr. Ayler?
No.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sidewalks, Curbs, and Parks Committee, Mrs. Fitzpatrick.
Thank you, Mr. President. No report this evening.
Thank you, Mrs. Fitzpatrick. Audit Committee, Mrs. Baker.
No report this evening, Mr. President. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Baker. That concludes our report to standing committees. We'll now move to the portion of our meeting where we welcome communications from citizens. If there's anybody in the audience, I presume you're all citizens, even though I always ask if there are any citizens in the audience. If is anyone in the audience who seeks to address council, please approach the lectern, state your name and address, after which the chair will recognize you to speak for up to 5 minutes.
Good evening. My name is Diane Hager. My address is 1105 Milligan Road here in the city. And I was sitting where you council people were sitting a few years ago. And my one goal was to represent the constituents in the Second Ward. Now, this is concerning overturning the mayor's veto. If your constituents do not want the solar farm, then you must support the mayor in his veto. If you do not represent your constituents, then who are you representing? The people don't want it. 80% of the people in Logan County do not want a solar farm. A lot of those residents are right here in Bellefontaine. I really think you need to consider, talk to the people that you are representing before you overturn that veto and try to get a solar farm approved. I have another thing I would like to bring up, and that is Mr. Levan's proposition for getting his property into the city. And I read it in the paper, and he wants to do single family dwellings, multiple family dwellings, but the part that troubled me was group homes. Now, some of you may not remember, but a few years ago, we had a terrible situation with a group home on North Main Street. Mrs. Green was terribly murdered by a violent teenager, Christopher Tyndall. We had no control because once the group home was in, we had no control over it as a city. So before you approve Mr. Levan's plans, I would like you to explore what he means by group homes. And that's all I have for you this evening. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Larry Novak. My address is 152 Lakewood Drive here in Bellefontaine. I wish to speak to the issue of the annexation. There's not a lot that the right and the left agree on in this country, but both sides agree we need to be energy independent. We cannot become hostage to foreign countries when it comes to our energy. To that end, we need to invest in clean energy, including wind and solar. Sometimes being a leader means having to cast a vote that's against the majority of your constituents. But it's a vote that's the right thing to do, because it's a vote for the future of energy independence in this country. And so I know a lot of people are against the idea of a solar farm, but I happen to believe it's necessary and the right thing to do. And I would ask that this council vote to override Mayor Christmas veto.
Good evening, my name is Mark Schmieder. I live at 2068 Township Road 56. I want to start off.
Just a second, Mr. Schmieder.
Schmieder, yes, SCHM.
And your address again?
2068 Township Road 56.
Go ahead, sir.
Okay, first off, I just wanted to thank you all for your service. I know you're in a very difficult position. A lot of times it feels like no win. And I've been there, done that, and I understand that. So I do respect you guys for your willingness to serve these roles. And just want to say thank you for that. I've read a lot of the comments on Facebook and all the discussions and talked to a variety of people about it. And clearly it's dividing our community. There's no question. And I hate to see that because that's never good for a community. So I'm always trying to think of how we could possibly address this that would satisfy everyone if possible, which is very difficult to do. But one of the arguments that I keep hearing about as far as supporting the annexation is that the city commissioners aren't voting for solar by doing this. They're simply allowing the property to come into the city, which is true. I mean, it's not up to you at this point to determine whether solar is permissible or not. Recommendation is it would come as R1, and obviously they have to go through the proper channels to change that. So I understand that. I also understand from attending past meetings that Scott has stated he'd like to be able to utilize the property. I get that. I have no hard feelings towards the dust at all. They're trying to maximize their revenue on an investment. I get that, and I support that. I also support individual landowner rights, which makes this challenging. But I think in that balance, you also have to consider the community as a whole and what impact that would have on the community. So the one point I wanted to zero in on is Scott had mentioned 3 specific other potential uses that solar doesn't go through: a warehouse, an intermodal rail facility, or a manufacturing plant that makes concrete tilt-up panels for buildings. And the city council seems to be saying they simply want to give Dust the option to use the land as they see fit, which I can appreciate. However, the point I want to communicate tonight is all 3 of those uses could be done without annexing the property. I have a copy of the Lake Township zoning resolution right here. I've served on the zoning appeals board for 5 years or so. And I've gone through all of these regulations, and it's B1, which is how it's currently zoned. It talks about typical uses: veterinary animal hospital, shopping type, retail, etc. But under conditional uses, it says public service facility, food processing, wholesale and warehousing, transport terminals, printing and publishing, etc. So they just try to give you some examples of other things. I would not, living right next door to the property, I would not be opposed to a warehouse, intermodal yard, tilt-up construction. I'm not opposed to any of those things. And I can tell you in the 5 years that I've served in that role, I don't remember ever turning down a request for a zoning variance. So I think we're a very easy group to work with. What we consider is we try to treat everyone fairly. We don't try to say, well, this guy, has a lot of wealth, so we're going to treat them differently. We try to keep it a level playing field for all members. Secondly, we try to listen to our constituents. We have a public hearing. Anyone is invited to come in. If they can provide some very good factual arguments, which I think have been presented against solar, then we'll certainly consider that. But again, today, we've never turned down a request. So the Duffs could very easily, under the existing zoning regs that are in place, simply file a letter for a conditional use of the property. And like I said, I would be very surprised if anyone objected to that. It's a pretty simple process. It spells it out in here. I could give anyone a copy if they'd like. So I guess what I'm really struggling with is I feel like they can accomplish what they want except for the solar. And my understanding, I may be incorrect, but my understanding is that by voting for the annexation, you're not all necessarily saying, we want solar. You're simply saying, we want to give the landowner some options to use his property as he sees fit, which again, I support 100%. So I guess what I'm really struggling with is currently to vote for the resolution, you'd be opposing and alienating the county commissioners, the township trustees, 2 of them here this evening, the mayor, which to me is a huge one. I mean, what does that say about our city when the city council votes against the mayor? I mean, I don't get that at all. And your constituents, again, the number thrown out was 80% of the constituents do not support solar. So why would you do that? And I guess I have to ask one question. If it was not the Duff name on that property, would you view it differently? That's a rhetorical question you have to consider for yourselves. But I do believe that has an influence in it. And again, our commitment as a township group of management is to try to treat everyone the same, try and give everyone the same options in accordance with the law, and that's all I'm asking. And again, I think that's consistent with your constituents' view. So again, to take that opposite vote, I'm just afraid of.
I'm giving you grace.
Okay.
Here,
All right,
you're at
thanks.
5:45.
All right,
So if you want to wrap it up.
I'll wrap it up. I just ask that you consider long-term consequences. I feel like you're burning bridges. And in a small community, just after living 60 years and experiencing that, I can tell you that's not something you want to do, particularly if you want to political future. And I think you will pay the price in November if you vote against the constituents. So I'll wrap it up with that. Thank you for your time.
Dave Swanson, address 1711 Oak Forest Drive, Round Rock, Texas.
Oh, I'm sorry, sir. Dave Swanson,
Yes.
1711
Oak Forest Drive,
Oak Forest Drive.
Round Rock, Texas. For everyone here, that's not in the
Round-
city limits.
Round Rock, Texas. Go ahead, sir.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Mr. President, Council. I have a few items just to bring up as it relates to the annexation. As you all know, I'm not hiding, I work for Hudson Energy. Relationship with the Duffs, obviously, on what could potentially be. So let me bring up 2 points that I think are pretty instrumental in the voting tonight. The first is the gentleman just spoke, and I think that's 2 huge points to bring up. This city, and from discussions I've had with folks that are around and in Bellefontaine, is they want to expand. They want the city to grow. This is approximately 200 acres that will be added to the city as part of this annexation. That's a pretty big deal, as we see in many other cities in this local area, Marysville and others, that those cities are buying up hundreds of acres around the city so they can expand their growth because they realize it's not just Columbus as it's expanding westward. The tax revenue. The whole point of the annexation and what was just brought up is a very solid point to think about. I'll cover something in a moment, but really, if you don't annex this property, that tax revenue from whatever other sources he mentioned, talking about manufacturing facility, let's talk about hog farms. Potential for hog farms to go there. There's potential for chicken farm to go there. There's potential for a data center. There's potential for a lot of things, all which will require conditional use if it's annexed to the city. A hog farm could go there if this does not get annexed, and there'll be no tax revenue from those projects, from those things that are put in that place and given to Bellefontaine. I just want to make sure everyone understands that a vote no on the annexation is exactly that. They can continue to go on, as before me said, under the current zoning. They can put a hog farm, they can put chicken farms, put a manufacturing facility, get the conditional use that will not get denied most likely, and this city will not get one tax dollar from that if it is not annexed. I think that's a pretty solid point for that. The other I want to bring up is I was not here 2 weeks ago. As most of you know, I attend these every 2 weeks. I'm part of that. But the statement that was made by the mayor was arbitrary. And I say this in the sense that he was letting the people know that annexation equals solar. That is not true. As we've heard, annexation does not equal solar. Annexation with R1 cannot be done. Solar cannot be put on that. And this is where I want to explain the process for everyone. There's 2 more approvals that are still required. We still have to go back to the planning committee and have them put it into M2, into light industrial. Not only that, that requires the council's approval again, just to get that zoning properly. And then we have to go back to the BCA, and then we have to get a conditional use for the M2 zoning. That's how many more approvals are required if the annexation takes place tonight. To me, this is not annexation equals solar. I think we all know that. However, we're only limiting the landowner who is requesting this to just that one idea, and that's been spread quite a bit. He has plenty of offers to do other things. So let me refocus us back onto what the first part is that, you know, the expansion, growing the city by 200 plus acres, the tax revenue will not be recognized if you don't give the landowner an opportunity to build what they need or what they want onto it. And then finally, the last point I want to say is this has been approved 5-2 and adopted by the council already. Do you really want to set a precedence by the mayor to veto what you've already voted for your constituents? Think about all of those things that you want in the future of other annexations, other rules, other ordinance. You allow that to happen and it's not overturned tonight. You will set a precedence for the future that your constituents' concerns can be overridden at any time with your vote. Thank you.
Scott Duff, 9085 O'Connor's Point Drive, Bell Center, Ohio. Okay, we've gone down a long road here. We're finally to the finish line. And I just want to thank the 4 council people that voted for our annexation. I think you understand that it's not a vote for solar. We were not trying to hide anything. We told you that's going to be our first approach. And I was talking to Mr. Ayler and he said, bring us something else. Well, John, we will bring you something else if solar's down, but I want to give you guys the control. First off, the water is there by Lee's Chicken, the utilities. We want the utilities. The township can't provide utilities. It is Dave and my job to take this 200 acres and make it a viable property for our family. Otherwise, it's just going to sit there dormant and probably no crops are going to happen. So give us an opportunity. You ask us to get a rules and regulation, and Mr. Springs too. Rules and regulation, we have that. You have a playbook now. You can't pass solar without it meeting all those regulations. So what we need tonight is just a yes vote. And I agree with Dave. Do you want the mayor to be all the time? Why are you guys even here if he can just veto things? I don't think it's right what he did. But that's my opinion and that's his opinion. But I'm giving you the opportunity to control this property. Annex it in. We will move ahead. It'll probably be a year from now by the time we get it through all the regulations. And I'll bring you other projects. I'm going to develop it. I don't want to put hog barns. I don't want to put chicken farms. The Strayer family right now, the largest pork producer in the United States, not just Midwest Ohio, is in Richland Township and MacArthur Township. They're putting up 8 hog barns that are huge. I don't think that's a good thing for the city. But if I saw solar, I'd see a productive city that's trying to do green energy. In our concrete field now, we are taking carbon from all these factories that are burning it. They're putting it into our silo, and we are injecting that into the concrete to get rid of the carbon that's in the air. There's all kinds of things that's coming up. Let's be progressive, please. Bellefontaine, think about this, but I'm giving you the power to control the property, and we will go through the channels. It's not like we're going to start it. And I'm just asking you to please vote for it. Thank you.
Sue Neer, 3743 Logan Road. I don't think I'm going to say much of anything that hadn't already been covered, but I wrote it up, so I'm going to say it anyhow. So I've spoken here many times, but tonight's meeting has the opportunity to set a very important precedent going forward. And that's on making the decision whether to annex the Duff property into the city limits. 2 of the county commissioners already voted this property met all the requirements to be annexed and agreed upon the annexation, even though they do not all support solar. The idea of deciding to allow the mayor's veto to stand solely based on the chance there might be a solar project is just ridiculous. That discussion should happen when and if a solar project is presented for approval, not before. This is currently only about annexation of the property, and if it fails because of what might be done with the property at a later time, then council is discouraging any business or person from ever wanting to do business with Bellefontaine. Please consider standing by your previous vote and supporting this annexation. It's what is best for the community at this time. There are several steps that will need to take place before a solar farm can happen, and we can discuss solar when it becomes necessary. That's not tonight. Thank you.
Donald Poe, 1173 Erie Street, Bellefontaine.
Go ahead, sir. Go ahead.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'm here to encourage City Council to vote for the annexation as stated. It'll come in as R1. And other follow-up steps will be needed to make it to solar, which I also encourage everybody to support. To the point where I would recommend that the city start adopting solar on their buildings to generate power. And I disagree with the mayor's statement last week that it really doesn't benefit him personally, but I think bringing this solar system and other solar into the city does benefit all the residents by generating tax revenue or revenue from generating your own electricity if you put it on the roof of this building, so that our taxes are not needed to be increased to pay for the expenses of the city. So I'm saying schools, public buildings need to put solar on, and the other, and we negotiate prices for our solar, our electricity, and the more supply you have, the more likely you are to be able to get cheaper rates for your electricity. So I see a benefit to all residents by increasing the tax base to offset some of the 500 homes that are going to be built at the end of my street that are going to get tax abatements. The schools and the people that use real estate taxes can certainly use the income that's going to be generated by bringing this 200 acres in and putting something on it that's going to generate income for the city. So again, I disagree with what the mayor said. One other objection I heard is somebody was worried about not cleaning up the solar panels after their life is over. It's my understanding, speaking to the city engineer, that you've amended commercial solar, that they have to post a bond to take the solar panels out if the owners fail to do it. And I don't know if somebody can correct me, but the new amendment to how to bring in solar covers that concern that somebody had last week. So I am a strong advocate. I guess I'm one of the 20% that is for having solar, and I don't want these people to change. And I want to know if it's a 4-2 vote tonight, does that still fail it, or do you have to have because it's 66% of the votes cast?
2/3 of elected members of council.
So
Requires
it's
5
going to
votes.
fail anyway.
I don't know. The votes haven't been cast.
Well, the 4 people could still vote for it. The 5th one not being here, it'll be 4 against 7. So we're all just spinning our wheels. And unfortunately, my representative in the 4th Ward is the one that I think is not here, and she's changed her vote. So, but I still say we're making a mistake by not embracing this, bringing it in, and having an opportunity to increase our tax rolls with something, and helping the people that are getting shortchanged by the tax abatements for the new construction. Somewhere you got to have an offset, and I say this is as good as any, and I'm for it.
Just a point of clarification, your 4th Ward representative is Mrs.
Okay.
Patrick.
Okay. You are here.
I'm here.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Did that for you, Mackenzie.
Thank you.
Steve Jenkins, 2839 Township Road, 56.
Just a minute,
That's
Mr.
just
Jenkins.
about a mile.
Just
from where
a
this
minute.
site-
What's your address again, sir?
2839 Township Road, 56.
Thank you. Go ahead.
I was gonna hold off, but some of the stuff I just got done hearing pretty much tells me that solar is the plan for this property. Hog farms and chicken farm, that's a ridiculous assumption, ridiculous. Nobody's gonna do that close to Bellefontaine, everybody knows that. Common sense. Now I'll get to what I was gonna say. The allergies are messing up my voice here a little bit, so I hope everybody can hear me. As I said, I'm a retired IS manager, 35 years of that. I live a couple miles north of Troy Road here, past the 200 acres. My land, my 50 acres is adjacent to Steve Powell's property, who part of his property is right across the road. I've always wondered why the crops on his property is great and the crops across the road always suck. Wanted to point out that much of the material that these solar panels are made from come from China. And the manufacturing and mining process of these panels and materials for batteries and stuff for solar, enormously environmental pollutant. And if anybody's paying attention, you will know that the CCP is no friend of the US. And the irony is that every dollar going into these solar panels, 30 cents of each dollar is government credits. That's your tax dollars, your tax dollars. And the people here opposing that are paying for that. So the only way that these corporations that install these panels, can afford to do it is with that tax credit. Otherwise, they couldn't do it. I call them carpetbaggers. Sorry about that.
listen, I'm feeling like a preacher that lost his sermon. It's not coming up for me. Well, I'll go on to say that, Mr. Duff. Yeah, I
Sir,
know
you
you've
can
done
address, you can address council, not the audience.
All right.
All right, thank you.
You know, he's done a lot of good for this community. You know, I don't deny that, and I admire him for that. And, you know, he has property rights, but the people that live in that area have property rights too. And they don't want, you know, their properties to be depreciated. They don't want their aesthetic views screwed up with ugly solar panels. I've seen them. I biked up around up north of us, and a lot of times they don't even mow up there. So, I got it. Well, I can't believe I lost my. Try this. So I want to praise Mayor Christman. He nailed it pretty good, explaining the opposition reasons to the solar push. I have a few other points. I understand that Mr. Duff, as a businessman, is right to pursue this venture. I've already said that. But we have the right to oppose. Like I said, I drive that road about every day, right past that field. And it's not so far from my property. So during my many years as an IS manager, I worked for an industrious and rich, wealthy businessman, magnanimous too, often. If I would have left my employment, and if I would have become a voting member of the city council, where he was pursuing a similar situation that we are facing today, I would have felt obligated to recuse myself. If we're still on good terms with him at that point, that would be an obvious requirement to recusal, so as not to allow my friendship, my business ties, and my past gifts or connections to sway my vote. I'm not an attorney, but I wonder if there is something in the legal code that addresses this recusal issue that can be later litigated. In closing, I would ask the city council to reconsider the vote for as many reasons as Mayor Christman has so eloquently laid out with his veto. So, thanks to the city council for listening to me.
Hello, I'm Carol Atkins, 556 North Mad River. I had not planned to speak today, but I'm really distressed with a number of inaccurate pieces of information that I'm hearing. I'm appalled that this was vetoed, and I'm really confused as to why. I must be one of the 20% because I am for solar, even though I understand that this tonight is not specifically about solar. This community really needs to be focused on how you're going to improve or increase income. There's a lot of things that are going on politically on the state level in terms of budget and nationally that's going to impact our small town and our community, including our public schools. And it is naive of us to think that's not going to impact us. I must know all the 20% that is for solar, by the way, because I personally don't know anyone who's against solar in this community. It's not that I don't believe. There's obviously some people here, I don't know them. What I'm saying is that, one, I question the 20%, and two, I apologize to, my district's kind of changed, so I'm not sure who all's representing me today, but I have not called them, and that's my mistake. Because otherwise they would be representing me on this vote tonight. Thank you.
Are there any other members of the audience who seek to address council? Seeing no one approach the lectern, that will conclude the communications from citizens portion of our meeting. We'll now move to our legislative agenda with ordinances and resolutions for first reading.
An ordinance authorizing the Service Safety Director to grant power of attorney to Priority Power Management LLC for natural gas aggregation services and declaring an emergency.
Mr. Springs,
Motion to pass on first reading only.
seconded by Mr. Reeser.
Mr. Reeser,
Yes.
Mr. Springs,
Yes.
Mr. Ayler,
Yes.
Mrs. Baker,
Yes.
Mr. Davis,
Yes.
Mrs. Fitzpatrick.
Yes.
Just for a second here, I was told last meeting that you guys can't hear me out there, so I'm trying to speak up. Can you hear back there? Okay. A resolution to adjust the city's capital asset threshold.
Mr. Springs,
Motion to adopt.
seconded by Mr. Reeser.
Mr. Reeser,
Yes.
Mr. Springs,
Yes.
Mr. Ayler,
Yes.
Mrs. Baker,
Yes.
Mr. Davis,
Yes.
Mrs. Fitzpatrick.
Yes.
A resolution amending debt service fund to recreational improvements fund and establishment of new revenue and expense accounts.
Mr. Springs,
Motion to adopt.
seconded by Mrs. Baker.
Mr. Reeser,
Yes.
Mr. Springs,
Yes.
Mr. Ayler,
Yes.
Mrs. Baker,
Yes.
Mr. Davis,
Yes.
Mrs. Fitzpatrick.
Yes.
A resolution authorizing the extension of city water lines and services outside the corporation line of the city of Bellefontaine, Ohio, to serve the 1.423 acre parcel owned by Habitat for Humanity of Logan County, Ohio Incorporated.
Mr. Davis,
Motion to adopt.
seconded by Mr. Ayler.
Mr. Reeser,
Yes.
Mr. Springs,
Yes.
Mr. Ayler,
Yes.
Mrs. Baker,
Yes.
Mr. Davis,
Yes.
Mrs. Fitzpatrick.
Yes.
That concludes our ordinances and resolutions for first reading. We'll move to ordinances for second reading.
An ordinance making supplemental appropriations and amending the permanent appropriations ordinance for purposes of parks, pool, and fire department and declaring an emergency.
Mr. Springs,
Motion to waive the 3 reading rule.
seconded by Mr. Ayler.
Mr. Reeser,
Yes.
Mr. Springs,
Yes.
Mr. Ayler,
Yes.
Mrs. Baker,
Yes.
Mr. Davis,
Yes.
Mrs. Fitzpatrick.
Yes.
Mr. Springs,
Motion to pass on second and final.
seconded by Mr. Reeser.
Mr. Reeser,
Yes.
Mr. Springs,
Yes.
Mr. Ayler,
Yes.
Mrs. Baker,
Yes.
Mr. Davis,
Yes.
Mrs. Fitzpatrick.
Yes.
Mr. Springs,
Motion to adopt.
seconded by Mr. Reeser.
Mr. Reeser,
Yes.
Mr. Springs,
Yes.
Mr. Ayler,
Yes.
Mrs. Baker,
Yes.
Mr. Davis,
Yes.
Mrs. Fitzpatrick.
Yes.
An ordinance authorizing the Service Safety Director and/or Park Superintendent to seek proposals and/or advertise for bids and enter into contract for the Harmon Park project and declaring an emergency.
Mr. Springs,
Motion to waive the 3 reading rule.
seconded by Mr. Ayler.
Mr. Reeser,
Yes.
Mr. Springs,
Yes.
Mr. Ayler,
Yes.
Mrs. Baker,
Yes.
Mr. Davis,
Yes.
Mrs. Fitzpatrick.
Yes.
Mr. Springs,
Motion to pass on second and final.
seconded by Mr. Reeser.
Mr. Reeser,
Yes.
Mr. Springs,
Yes.
Mr. Ayler,
Yes.
Mrs. Baker,
Yes.
Mr. Davis,
Yes.
Mrs. Fitzpatrick.
Yes.
Mr. Springs,
Motion to adopt.
seconded by Mrs. Fitzpatrick.
Mr. Reeser,
Yes.
Mr. Springs,
Yes.
Mr. Ayler,
Yes.
Mrs. Baker,
Yes.
Mr. Davis,
Yes.
Mrs. Fitzpatrick.
Yes.
An ordinance authorizing the Service Safety Director and/or Park Superintendent to seek proposals and/or advertise for bids and enter into contract for the design of the new Hoffman Municipal Swimming Pool project and declaring an emergency.
Mr. Springs,
Motion to waive the 3 reading rule.
seconded by Mrs. Baker.
Mr. Reeser,
Yes.
Mr. Springs,
Yes.
Mr. Ayler,
Yes.
Mrs. Baker,
Yes.
Mr. Davis,
Yes.
Mrs. Fitzpatrick.
Yes.
Mr. Springs,
Motion to pass on second and final.
seconded by Mrs. Baker.
Mr. Reeser,
Yes.
Mr. Springs,
Yes.
Mr. Ayler,
Yes.
Mrs. Baker,
Yes.
Mr. Davis,
Yes.
Mrs. Fitzpatrick.
Yes.
Mr. Springs,
Motion to adopt.
seconded by Mrs. Baker.
Mr. Reeser,
Yes.
Mr. Springs,
Yes.
Mr. Ayler,
Yes.
Mrs. Baker,
Yes.
Mr. Davis,
Yes.
Mrs. Fitzpatrick.
Yes.
That concludes the ordinances for second reading. We'll move to ordinances for adoption or third reading.
An ordinance making supplemental appropriations and amending the permanent appropriations ordinance for purposes of parks and declaring an emergency.
Mr. Springs,
Motion to adopt.
seconded by Mr. Reeser.
Mr. Reeser,
Yes.
Mr. Springs,
Yes.
Mr. Ayler,
Yes.
Mrs. Baker,
Yes.
Mr. Davis,
Yes.
Mrs. Fitzpatrick.
Yes.
Okay. We're in uncharted territory, friends. We now move to the ordinances for reconsideration. First, I'll ask the clerk to read the title of the ordinance, and then I'll speak a little bit, and then we'll go from there, okay?
An ordinance accepting application for annexation of certain territory real estate to the city of Bellefontaine, Ohio, containing 200.827 acres owned by Duff Quarry Incorporated, located in Lake Township, adjacent to the city of Bellefontaine, Ohio, establishing zoning classification therefore, and amending the zoning map.
Okay, so first, because I allowed, typically we don't have comment before we read an ordinance, but I feel like because I gave Mrs. James the opportunity to say her piece in an email because she wasn't here, that if there are any members of council who wish to be heard on that, I'll entertain anybody who wants to speak on that if they have any thoughts. If not, that's okay too. Just raise your hand. I'll recognize you in the order that you seek to be identified, and we'll kind of go from there, okay? Any members of council wish to be heard on the issue? Mrs. Baker.
I just wanted to say that this, as several people have said, the ordinance that's before us is for residential annexation. So it's not a solar ordinance. I just wanted to clarify that.
Okay, thank you. Any other members of council wish to be heard on the issue? All right, I don't see any other hands raised, so that will conclude the discussion on the reconsideration. Now, what we have before us is a reconsideration, but that reconsideration is not officially before council until there is a motion and a second for the reconsideration of the ordinance. And if there is a motion and a second, then we'll call a vote, and we'll take a roll call vote. If there is no motion and no second, that will be it. There will be no vote, and it will not be reconsidered, and the veto will prevail. If we do call it through a motion and a second and take a vote, got to have 5 votes, 5 yes votes, okay? Any questions about that? All right, so I'll entertain a motion or a second to reconsider ordinance 2531. Mrs. Patrick
I motion to reconsider.
makes the motion. Do I have a second? Seconded by Mr. Reeser.
Mr. Reeser,
Yes.
Mr. Springs,
No.
Mr. Ayler,
No.
Mrs. Baker,
Yes.
Mr. Davis,
Yes.
Mrs. Fitzpatrick.
Yes.
The final vote is 4-2. We do not have enough votes to override the mayor's veto, so the veto prevails and the ordinance fails. Okay, that concludes our legislative portion of the meeting. Are there any communications from the clerk?
None, thank you.
Are there any communications from members of council? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion and a second to adjourn. Motion by Mr. Davis, second by Mrs. Fitzpatrick.
Good loves. So you're sticking that out. Good loves.
I think it was.
Every other. You may have read, you may have already. No. I think finance. But I'd like to I'm not on.
Well, just, yeah, don't go out. Yeah.
Here's my
I guess one thing.
Yeah, just email it to me, but don't come. Because I have considered a council meeting.
Well, I said it that. I tried to include, was actually.
I learned that trick from your dad.
Why would I think
Okay, sure. I'm tired. I'm fine with the golf carts, and if we're not gonna do golf carts, I'm fine with that too, but then get Buddy off that freaking tractor.
You're not wrong about that. My issue is, I mean, it is just safety.
The good thing with the golf carts is the cops can catch them, even if they gotta get out and run.
Yeah.
The kid on the e-bike almost kills me, and I thought, Buddy, I'm not gonna move, you're in another move.
Exactly.
I know. I did not know.
No, I'm not just, I just know that someone to slow down the bike before I came to this thing. It wasn't him this time, but it hasn't been.
No matter what. No, I want my drivers as far as I want to know your ability because that's also kill you. That is not such a thing. And what colors I'm going to get I think I say you're going to get off.
Well, I know that Mercer County. I mean, that's what I'm
Yeah, so like they are so much louder than I can hear really well tonight. So you tell you.
Well, either way, I didn't have
Maybe because I can hear them up.
because it does work really well.
No, I agree.
And then I was on
Any other day.
and
And I also have my mom. My dad said, I'll pay for everything.
Hey, how are you?
Did you do that?
I'm gonna send you links. I'll check the word schedule.
Yeah. I will, no, I will, but I will.
I just thought that was.
Because I thought